Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Everyday Strong with Dr. Michael G. Daniels. This is your host, C.B. Baker. We've got another good episode for you today. At the recording of this episode, we would like to talk about what's going on in America right now in Minneapolis, to be more specific, of the killing, the murder of George Floyd, African-American male who was stopped by the police for allegedly a fraud scheme or scandal or whatever. He fit the description, and they asked him to get out the car. He got out the car, and then what they say, when I mean by they, the police say, is that he started resisting arrest, and then the officer put him on the ground, had his knee on his neck, essentially over time, killing him. Dr. Daniels, the thing that really bothers me is after Eric Garner in New York.
Right.
And I feel like every police force across America should have watched that video.
Absolutely.
And went through that whole thing. So you say, okay, if the guy's telling you he cannot breathe, do something different.
Well, if you're black, though,
right,
you can breathe in their mind.
Right. And that's the part that really got me with the video, is that he's clearly saying and pleading with the officer, can you plead nicely?
Called on his mama. Black man called mama. He in trouble.
Right.
You're right. It just highlights the fact that if you're black in America, life is devalued. That's really the thing. Like you said, their initial take, because they've changed their minds now, which is why now it's a murder charge. Right. Their initial take was that the guy supposedly was resisting. But what they should have known, since they are policemen, is that, number one, you have body cameras that you cannot erase. Two, that you're in front of a store, and most stores now have video cameras. And it just so happened that one of the stores decided, don't know what made them decide, to release a videotape to, I'm trying to think of the lawyer's name, but it's civil rights attorney. So anyway, he popped it up on his website. So now the news media, of course, now has it, and it clearly shows that there was no resisting of arrest. They go to the car, the passengers in the car get out the car, no sweat. They follow his orders. He gets out the car, no big deal. They take him, they put his hands behind his back, they handcuff him, and they sit him on the ledge of the store. He's sitting there. Then another police car pulls up, and then they grab him and take him, toward the car. It's not like he was resisting arrest.
Right.
They were manhandling him, and he was handcuffed. So if you got your hands cuffed behind your back, how am I resisting arrest?
Right.
So it just highlights the fact that in America, if you're a black man, then automatically there is fear. And the sad part is that the other officers, as you know, stood there and watched.
Yeah.
So people always say things like, well, you cannot blame the other officers for one bad seed. No, that wasn't a one bad seed.
Right.
That's a group of officers that felt comfortable watching this man be brutalized. So there's no need in saying that they were good officers, and except for one. It is a climate, of how people think. I'm not saying that all white people think that way, but I don't know if you saw this or not, but there was another video that came out of an event that happened less than 48 hours ago, where a white female was walking her dog.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Right? You're walking your dog off leash, which is illegal.
Right.
Black man tells you, hey, put a leash on the dog, because after all, you may say the dog is friendly, but that don't mean we know the dog is friendly.
Right.
And what does she do? She approaches the man and tells the man to get out of her face. So the man starts filming her. And then she tells the man, if you don't stop filming me, I'm going to call the police. And then she calls the police and lies and says that this man is trying to attack her. And when the police don't respond immediately, she gives a fake cry, help, he's trying, fortunately, for him, he did have the recording.
Right.
Fortunately for him, when the police came, they were no longer there because he probably would be dead right now because they would have shot first, asked questions later.
Right.
And fortunately, her employers saw the video.
Right.
And so that they have suspended her. They should fire her.
They did. I saw the report today. They did fire her.
Right, because her behavior demonstrates how she feels toward blacks, and I'm sure some of their clients are black.
Right.
It just boils me when people say that we're in a race neutral society when they know we are not.
Right. The one thing that I don't know if what corner we're turning, but it seems like it's something like the lady got fired. The video came out. The lady first they put on administrative leave, then they fired him. Mm-hmm. Then with the Minneapolis police department immediately fired all 4 people, and then a couple of days later charged them with murder.
Right.
Let's put it in the system. Justice system. Let's put it in the system. So we know 10 years, not even 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that would not have happened.
No, and I applaud those two. I mean, I certainly applaud that mayor. Right. I'm sure the mayor in the other county has something to do with that immediacy because the mayor in the county beside him was a black mayor. And he said that the two were friends, and he had already called that mayor up, and they had conversation about it. But the video was just so shocking.
Yeah.
It would be difficult. I shouldn't say it would be difficult because we know with the young boy in Baltimore that they arrested him for riding a bicycle.
Right.
He's dead now, and they swear up and down that nothing happened. But, that's another story. But reason why I say we still have a long way to go. Think about the EMT, the young lady that just a couple of days ago, her and her husband were in their home, and they had a warrant, a no-knock warrant. So they go to their house, and they hear someone outside, but it's a no-knock warrant, so it was unmarked police cars, and it's plain clothes people. So and she's an EMT. He himself has a permit to carry a gun. All right, but he's in his home, so you really don't need a permit, but he has one.
Right.
He hears the people outside, thinks it's a home invasion, dials 911, and says, there's someone trying to break in my house.
Right.
So you would think at that point, someone would have relayed to the police outside that he thinks someone is trying to break in his house.
Right.
Well, they kick the door in, and he shoots because he doesn't know who they are.
Right.
They open fire on the house, and they put 8 bullets in the woman, and she's in a bra and panties, and she's dead.
Wow.
Okay. They charged the man with attempted murder of a police officer. He's locked up right now. So I'm saying in Minneapolis, they did the right thing. But here's a person that called 911 and said, I have a home invasion. So obviously he wasn't trying to kill a policeman.
Right.
They were in plain clothes. His assumption is someone is trying to come in my house. Doesn't he have a right? They always talk about Second Amendment rights when it's dealing with white people. Mm-hmm. But with a black man, you don't have Second Amendment rights.
Right.
They don't say that you have a right to defend your home. You have a right to do these kind of things. It is such a double standard. It is, and I wish that there was a way for white America to really come to grips with what it's like to be a black man in this country.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how successful you are, it doesn't matter. You are still viewed negatively and as a threat wherever you go.
Yeah. It is a major issue. I'm going to ask you a question. So I know the police chief in Minneapolis is he's really at a no-win type situation at this point. Because I don't know if you've seen the video of them riding. You know, they're literally, the people have smashing those police cars at the police station.
Right.
And I was telling my wife, I was like, well, if the chief calls SWAT, it's like it's going to just escalate the situation.
It's going to be another Baltimore.
Right. So now I'm going to ask you this question. If you're the police chief of Minneapolis, what would you do? How would you handle
go on public television and I would apologize. And I would let the people of Minneapolis know that I understand their fears. I understand their concerns. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that those 4 men get a fair trial, but they're going to be tried. And they're going to be tried just as if any other person would be tried. When the problem that he has is that the police union has come out and said, why are they being treated unfairly as if they're guilty without a trial? The four policemen.
Right.
That's what the police union has said. So it kind of, gives a feel that, well, okay, you may charge them, but are you really going to convict them, kind of thing?
Right.
Will they get a change of venue, like what happened, out in California when those police officers, beat Rodney King to within an inch of his life? You get a change of venue. You go to a white area so they can find you innocent. See, oftentimes when police do these kind of things, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Same thing happened in New York, right? When they killed a young man, they ask for a change of venue. They move it to where it's an all white or predominantly white area, and there are no blacks on the jury. Those kind of things. So I understand their frustration. He needs to push that issue to let people know that no, hey, listen, we're going to treat them just like anybody else. See, if I kill a policeman, there's no change of venue.
Right.
They don't say, we think you can, you can't get a fair trial here, so let's move you to a place where it's full of black people.
Right.
Where they really are my peers.
Right.
Who really are afraid of police, so that I can get a fair trial.
Right. Because the second your lawyer say that, the judge is going to shoot it down.
Right. But for them, they do it, all the time. Well, they can't get a fair trial. Well, yes, they can. But you're moving them not where they can get a fair trial. You move them so they can get preferential treatment. And that's unfair. They need to be tried where they did the crime at.
Right.
It's just that simple. That's what that's what happened to black men. You get tried where you did the crime at. So I mean, again, and I don't want to push it too far, but I think that's what the police chief needs to do. He needs to enforce upon the people that we're going to treat them just like we treat anybody else. See, this idea that you're innocent until proven guilty is never been true for a black man. A black man is guilty until proven innocent. Yeah. As evident by the fact that they just told them, get out the car and handcuffed them.
Right.
They didn't ask him any questions about anything. All they said was, you black, get out the car, and they handcuffed him.
Right.
Well, it's a nonviolent crime, even if it was forgery.
Right.
Why do I have to get out the car and you handcuff me? And you don't ask me any questions. He's saying, what are you arresting me for? Get out the car. Get out the car. And handcuff him.
So would you think, are you saying that this whole system is nationwide for is basically racism embedded in the police force?
The training of police officers takes them to a position where even they believe that blacks are more likely to be violent than whites. Now, and I'll tell you why I say that. I had the privilege a few years ago of being asked to come to a sensitivity training for senior police officers, okay? Chief of Police of Chesapeake was there. Deputy Chief of Police Virginia Beach was there. Chief of Police, Deputy Chief of Police for Newport News was there. Chief of Police Hampton. Senior police officers, right, were there. Norfolk State's senior officer. And the trainers, it was a white female and a black male. The white female made this comment. She said that statistics show that blacks commit more crimes than whites. And I said, that's not true. And she said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. But the problem is that's what you all teach your officers.
Right.
So when you teach them that way, they view us as being criminals from the start.
Right.
She said, no, Dr. Daniels, you're not right in this thing. And I know you think you're right, but statistics show that blacks commit more crimes. I said, let me explain something to you. I have taken statistics and I understand statistics. Maybe you don't. What the statistics show is not that blacks commit more crime. It shows that blacks are convicted of more crimes.
Right.
It shows that blacks are arrested for crimes more than whites. I said, let me give you a simple example. I'm an ODU alumnus. At the time I went to ODU, it was a predominantly white school. Probably about 5% of students were black.
Right.
But also I'm a Norfolk State alumnus because I went to both schools. Now, when I go to a Norfolk State football game, they tailgate, all right? When you leave a Norfolk State football game, you don't get escorted by the police. But the police do put tickets on your cars if you park wrong.
Right.
The tickets are there watching you when you leave,
Right.
and they do pull you over if they think you're drinking. You go to an ODU football game, predominantly white. They have the tailgating. The police are right beside where the primary tailgate lot is
Right.
for those alumnus that you give huge donations.
Right.
A good friend of mine, he brings his bartender from his restaurant out there.
Right.
Okay. So, and they're drinking, they're having a great, it's no way with all that alcohol that they leave there being within the legal limit of drinking.
Right. Right.
You follow me?
I follow you.
But the Norfolk police is right there. And what they do, they wave people through to get the traffic rolling. They stop nobody. They give
Right.
breathalyzers to nobody. You can't tell me that's not against the law to drive drunk. It is.
Right.
But they just let them leave. At Norfolk State, it's a whole different ball game. So it's not that whites commit less crime. It's that whites are arrested less than blacks are arrested. See, that's the reality. But when you put that in the police officer's mind, that every time you see a black man, he probably has already committed a crime.
Right.
It sends the wrong message. I blame the training of police officers for these problems, and I blame the unions when they refuse to accept that there are police officers that are racist, in their ranks.
Yeah. It's impossible for as a nation, for the police force to not have anybody racist in the thing.
True.
So you got to put forth a type of system that at least lowers the ability for racism to seep in it. And that's supposedly what the justice system is supposed to be. The lady's sitting there with the two things and she's blind. That's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
But you cannot go and stack things up like the lady with the statistics, in there. That's stacking the deck against black people. Because if you bring a person out of the academy, you put them in the academy, and first thing you tell them is this statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now you say, okay, now I want y'all to go work in the hood. Like little kid riding his bike down the street, they see criminal, and they just
Not just little kid.
Yeah.
They see you walking down the street.
You know what I'm saying? They see criminal. It's like, but I'm saying like when you see a little kid that's on his bike just going to the basketball court,
right?
They're seeing, what is he running drugs with somebody? Is he just like, he's just on his bicycle, Now, if you see him riding his bicycle 10 times in the same direction and stopping on a corner that drugs are sold at, okay, I get that. But if he's just randomly on the street riding his bicycle, why are you even approaching that?
I even say this. If you see him stopping at the same spot, that don't mean he's running drugs. Now, I'll tell you why I say that. Because when I was a kid, I knew drug dealers. I talked to them all the time. They lived in my neighborhood.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was going talking to them because I was selling drugs.
Right.
Now, granted, as I got older, it was true. But I'm just saying when I was a kid. Because those were my brother's friends, and those
Right.
were my friends. So you would just, you you want to be big, you want to be grown. So
Right.
you ride by, you stop and you talk to them, and they might tell you, leave me alone, going over here. Then you would come back, you would do things like that.
So I'm gonna ask this question. Since we're on talking about the kids, what can we do for as crime in the Black community? What can we do to prevent it, in the Black community? What can the Black people do to prevent crime in the Black community?
Well, you can stop stealing, but to say what can we do to decrease crime in the Black community is the same thing that you do to decrease crime in the white community. For some reason, we have allowed, in my opinion, we've allowed America to put a false narrative as if it is only the Black communities where there's a high rate of crime. And that's my point about the statistics. Crime rates are published based on who got arrested and who got convicted. There is crime in all communities. Just because you live in a predominantly white community don't mean nobody's not snorting coke. But see, if you're snorting coke in the white community,
Right.
no one is, they're not in that community arresting people. They go to the minority community where the person comes to buy, the white person buys the coke. Well, why don't they follow the white person back home?
Right.
When they get to their $500,000 home and they know they brought coke in there, go in there and arrest everybody for doing coke.
Right.
Kick that door down, because even it may be recreational, but still it is illegal. So, that's the thing I'm saying is that white people steal just like Black people steal, but the difference is they're kleptomaniacs. It is a disease. See your psychiatrist.
Yeah.
White people, DUI, they kill people. If you watch the ID channel, for example, these white men are cutting up white women.
Yeah.
Every day. They're killing them every day. But whenever they see a white man, they don't think, he's a serial killer. So I don't necessarily think that the crime in the Black community is greater than crime in the white community. In any impoverished community, people try to get by.
Yeah.
So it's different kind of crime. That's what I just say. In the Black community, you may sell a little dope to pay your cell phone bill.
Right.
Obviously, you ain't big time. If you were big time, you wouldn't be in the community.
Yeah.
But we've always said, Black folk don't fly planes for the most part.
Right.
Black folk don't have speedboats for the most part.
That's right.
So cocaine is not homegrown.
Right.
So where did it come from? If it didn't come from the Black community, it must have came through the white community.
Yeah.
Right? Marijuana in large quantities is not homegrown. That's not the Black community. That's somebody else's community. So I don't want to blame the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm phrasing it the way I'm phrasing it, because I'm cautious. Because if you blame the victim, then what happens is it exacerbates the problem because it allows police officers to keep looking at us as a problem. And that's not the problem. The problem is the way we're viewed.
I've always said that if you want to make a statement, I've always said, you want to make a statement, have 100 to 200 Black men walk to the police station to fill out applications. You already, well, then they going to say, I said, that ain't the point. The point is you're saying, okay, it's time to change the system. We're going to change it from within. Out of 200 people, they got to hire somebody because they don't want on their books 200 African Americans applied and 200 African Americans, denied,
Right.
the application. So apply to work in the police force. And I was going to talk about earlier is the police got to start policing themselves.
That's the key. See, you hit the nail on the head. That's and you keep on talking about.
Yeah, so you're right. They need to police themselves because those 4 other officers that was there watching him do that. When the guy said he couldn't breathe, like I get it. You in the zone, you making sure everything's going on. But the second you hear somebody say, "Hey man, I can't breathe," you go say, "Hey, Get off of him. Then if he don't move, push him off of him.
Right.
And then even if he got an issue with you pushing him off of him, y'all could take, we used to say that in football, you can take this locker room. Same thing with the police. Like, we can handle this. We can talk about it later, but you're not going to have this guy. Like, now I'm getting charged because of you.
Stupidity. Right.
Right. No. Like, you need to get off. You got to police yourself.
The guy says help.
Right.
He says, I can't feel my legs. That's a key stress right there. If I can't feel something, that means that pressure point on my neck is causing me some real problems.
Right.
See, you really hit it where it really needs to be. The problem is police don't police. Police protect police. And they say all the time that that's not true, but that's a bold-faced lie. It is true.
All right.
The unions always come out trying to protect the police. I don't care what happens. They say it was justified. So until the police themselves let it be known that we have an honorable profession and we will not allow you to come in this profession and make us look bad, you will always have people that come in thinking that they can do what they want to do.
Yeah. They, at some point, they're going to have to Chick-fil-A the situation. What I mean by Chick-fil-A is like they take employees from other places and they act completely different when they step foot through the door at Chick-fil-A. And it's because of the culture that they have there. You've got to change the culture of things at the police station.
I'll say this last little point, and then you probably have more expertise than this than I do. Think about any sports franchise. Once you get beyond high school, because you got to get to where the players really have more influence. Okay?
Right.
The players will make a decision. This is a winning team. Mm-hmm. You can't bring a losing attitude here.
Yep.
See, the players police the players. You mess around and if they call for an extra practice, if Tom Brady says we need an extra practice before we play in this particular game, they're going to show up.
Right.
The coach doesn't have to make that call. If that star pitcher or that star, shortstop says, you know what, infield, we need to be here at a certain time. We need this. People show up. The police are different from that regard. They don't make that connection within themselves and say, listen, we are tired of getting people viewing us in a negative light. Rather than them saying, y'all need to view us in a more positive light, they need to start changing their actions.
Right.
So we will view them in a more positive light.
Right.
Talk is cheap. That's what my father would say. Talk is cheap. Takes money to buy land.
Yeah. And then also with the police force is we're beyond you coming out with the kids and playing basketball. Like you come out once every blue moon to come play basketball with the kid. Like, I'm not saying you should stop doing that, right. But how about you come out, in a t-shirt, police t-shirt, like you're off duty and meeting with the people in the community, just talking, just regular conversation with people on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Another thing I think that they need to stop doing is allowing police to live outside of the community that they're policing. Mm-hmm. You should be in the same district living there that you're policing.
Absolutely.
Because you need to be able to go to the grocery store and see the people and they see you, hey, officer such and such, and then vice versa. So when something goes down, they're not vice versa, not afraid. They're, how the police always talking about how we can't get information, for certain people. Like, well, if you know these people and if a little Johnny is, he shows up police, his parents, he's a good kid. He might be just got hooked up with the wrong people. Now you say, okay, I'm going to let him off or let's do something different. Mm-hmm. Or if little Jimmy been hell on wheels since, day one, he need a wake up call. You already know all this.
Right.
But if you from living outside the neighborhood, you don't know that.
And if you treat them as human beings.
Right.
You treat them as human beings. And I'm one last comment that I want to just bring up. Think about what happened to the white boy in Texas was convicted of a crime, that did not even go along with the judge's orders when he said he was going to give him probation instead of jail time. And then the judge had the nerve to say that because of the boy's wealthy background, he shouldn't get locked up. Because of your wealthy background, you shouldn't get locked up. Or think about when the Korean woman in L.A. shot the little girl because she thought she was stealing something, and the girl had paid for it, and so she shoots her. Yeah, she shoots her in the head, and she gets convicted. Okay, she gets convicted, and the judge says, white female judge says, well, it really wouldn't benefit society to lock her up, because I think that she has already suffered enough to know that she erred in shooting the young girl. You see,
right.
the bottom. See, when you view Black lives as being nothing, when we do stuff and we just get the full letter of the law. There were 4 young Black boys that what they did was wrong. Okay, 4 young Black boys that did a house invasion on a campus at a fraternity house, and they raped one of the girls that was in there. All right. The least amount of time they gave them 4 boys was 43 years. These were teenagers.
Right.
43 years. Okay. One of them got 50 years. That's the least amount of time they did. They had from 43 to 99 years was what it was. So they're not even eligible for parole until they get 43 years in.
Right, right.
White folk kill people.
Right.
Get 23 years. 25 years for killing people.
Right.
And they got 43 years. Now, I'm not saying what they did was right.
Right.
The inequity of how you view Black lives. If there had been a Black woman they raped, ain't no way in the world they would have got 43 years.
Mm. The sad
if a white man rape a Black woman, he gonna be home with an ankle bracelet.
Right. And that's where the part of the justice system where it really fails at.
Mm-hmm. It's the judges, it's the prosecutors, and as well as the police. And until judges are fair, until prosecutors are fair, the police have backing to do what they do.
Yeah. It really is a shame. I mean, we can keep going. I know we're way past our normal time frame.
No, we good.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just such a volatile thing. I guess we probably need to do a series on it or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So thank y'all for listening. This is your host, CB Baker. Till next time.